The Milwaukee was a ship that had about an 18-year career. I'm Valerie Van Heest, and I'm the co-director of the Michigan Shipwreck Research Association. Well, so the Michigan Shipwreck Research Association is a small nonprofit. There's 4 of us that serve on the board, myself, my husband, Jack Van Heest, Craig Rich, and Neil Zoss. And we are all historians. Most of us are scuba divers. And my husband, being an engineer, he operates the side scan sonar equipment and the remote operated vehicle. We get by on a shoestring budget. We have an event every spring. We've done this for 24 years at the Knickerbocker Theater in Holland, and we share our discoveries and other new discoveries made by, we'll call ourselves citizen scientists, who are working to make discoveries and share those discoveries with the public, because this is our history. This is the history of the Great Lakes, and particularly in Michigan, it's the history of Michigan's West Shore and how our communities grew, many of them because of the lumbering industry. We discovered last summer the steamship Milwaukee that had been lost in 1886, about 35 miles off Holland, Michigan. It began its career as a passenger steamship, so it had a much different look to it. It had 3 decks, and across the top were all luxurious passenger cabins, and it was used for the New York to Lake Michigan region trade to carry really immigrants and new settlers westward. And then when the Welland Canal got bigger, this became a small ship that was inefficient to operate in the passenger trade. So it was sold and it was converted to a steamship by removing most of those passenger cabins, opening up the main deck for a lot of cargo. And then it was utilized for a number of years until Muskegon lumberman Lyman Mason purchased the ship. And then he began using it to haul Muskegon lumber to Chicago. And it was in that capacity that it was lost in July of 1886. It had just delivered a load of lumber to Chicago. It was returning. Meanwhile, there was another Muskegon lumber vessel, the C. Hickox, and that was heading to Chicago. And they ran round the clock. So at midnight, both ships were so on course that they collided. We have since learned that neither captain slowed down in foggy conditions, and that's the first thing regulations tell them to do. So while they tried to take some evasive action, had they slowed down, this accident would not have happened. It was a pretty young ship when the Welland Canal was enlarged, and while it was really inefficient then for the passenger trade, it became a very efficient steamship for the cargo trade. But what was so unique about this is the historic archives, the photographic records, the documentation did not tell us that in its last year of life, it had been significantly changed again. What we found on the bottom was very different from the last known photograph. In fact, the only known photograph of the Milwaukee after it had been converted to a cargo steamship. And that is that Lyman Mason, its owner, reconfigured the ship yet again with a much smaller stern cabin, a much smaller pilot house. And we now realize by seeing the shipwreck on the bottom that this change had been made, and it was simply a change made to accommodate as much lumber on that deck as they could. Time was money, and every delivery of cargo had to be as efficient as possible. In the early days of steamship travel, as that was taking over schooner travel, ships could travel a lot faster, they were more maneuverable, And there was a lot of traffic, just like we have traffic on the highways today, there was traffic on the Great Lakes. So with a number of accidents in the mid-1800s, the government generated regulations that said what to do in the face of an encounter in order to avoid collisions. And it was number one, slow down. Number two, everybody turns to the right so that you can avoid each other. And number three, in case visibility is low, you signal by the pull of a whistle chain, a steam whistle chain, to give an audible alert to what you're doing. And in this case, they did everything right, but one of the ship's chain happened to break, and then a fog rolled in, and then neither ship slowed down. You know, these captains had schedules to keep, deliveries to make, time was money. Neither slowed down, and had they slowed down, they might not have hit each other, and one man might not have died. What we understand from newspaper accounts is that there was pandemonium on the lake. The captain, was trying to save the ship. It was a valuable ship. It had only been purchased and reconfigured a year prior. And so they blew their distress whistle, which was working. The ship that collided with them came to their assistance. And then another ship, the city of New York, heard the distress whistle. And those two ships worked to try to save the Milwaukee. One of the things they did is they strapped a canvas sail over the side of the Milwaukee to kind of slow down the inflow of water. And then the two ships sandwiched the Milwaukee between them. They put some kind of lines between the ship. Interestingly, in the video we saw some strapping on the bottom that might be evidence of those lines. We also saw, oddly enough, near the bow of the ship on the lake bottom, we found a perfectly intact ladder. And we think that maybe the crew from the Milwaukee escaped to the Hickox by strapping a ladder across from ship to ship and kind of walked across it to get onto the other ship. So we're seeing evidence on the bottom of what happened that night so long ago. Filming this wreck was important because filming it remotely was important because it's very deep. There are technical divers that could get down to about 360 feet where this is, but that's a very dangerous dive. So my husband, being an engineer, he built and assembled a remote operated vehicle, again on a shoestring. We spent about $2,000 and probably hundreds of hours of his time. I haven't seen him practically all year. He's in the basement building this. And so for a very low budget, we could get down there, put eyes on this, identify it, and share it with the public. Great Lakes shipwrecks, they didn't go down carrying treasure. These are not like Spanish galleons with gold and silver. These are historic treasures, and in the Great Lakes, the fresh water preserved these ships so well that they look, in many cases, just like they look sailing. So this gives us a window into the past. These are underwater museums, and so I think the intrigue is seeing, like with the Milwaukee, how incredibly preserved these shipwrecks are. Shipwrecks are akin to a crime scene. We, as the discoverers, we don't disturb anything. We don't take any artifacts. We look at what's on the bottom. We respect this as a historical artifact, and we try to bring back that data with measurements, photographs, video to capture the evidence of what happened in the accident. I think for those of us that have always been fascinated with exploration and discovery, you don't have to be a big organization. You don't have to work for the government. We can be citizen scientists, and we can get out there and observe history. Walk the beaches. You never know when the remains of a ship might be revealed in the shifting sand. So everybody's got to keep an eye out for history and help tell the stories, keep that alive. And we encourage everybody who's interested to get involved with our organization, join up and be a part of our team.